This interview is brought to you by First Majestic Silver Corp., one of the world's purest and fastest growing silver mining companies.
Welcome back to Cambridge House Live. I'm Vanessa Collette here at the Canadian Investor Conference, Vancouver, and I'm pleased to be joined by Louis James. He is the Senior Investment Strategist for KC Research. It's great to see you again, Louis.
Glad to be back.
Now, Louis, we were just talking before on the break about how this resource market really is cyclical, and it's no secret that you believe that gold will be coming back. What do you see as some of the main drivers there?
Well, lots of things. But first, on the cycles, you can look at gold as a commodity like any other, and commodities tend to go in cycles. And clearly, we've been through a down cycle, and there are signs of all of that having bottomed, not just gold. The base metals have actually done much better this year than I thought they would. So there are clear signs of a bottom. Is it the bottom? Who knows? But the world is not going to stop needing metals. So we know they will go up. It's just a matter of when, not if. And we've been through such a grinder that there are, great companies on sale now. So that's nothing new, not rocket science. You sound like a true believer, but that really is the situation.
Right, it's just a fact. So what do you think are going to be some of the catalysts moving gold higher?
You want to talk about gold specifically? Okay, well, there's, I think, a lot of interesting things going on. We've talked about basically the wholesale transfer of gold from west to east, and that continues. And a lot of the predictions about, if gold breaks below this, then that, and it keeps not happening. Every time it seems to break down, you see all this buying rush in, and we know who it is. And their names end with like Chan and not Smith,
right?
Or Singh. And that's really good to see. It has put a solid floor under there. Any number of things could go around. There's a lot of talk about China disclosing its new gold holdings, and that could be a big push. I think that may be priced in to some degree. I mean, everybody's expecting that, so why would that change when they make the official announcement? But it doesn't matter. I mean, those people are still buying. And actually, oddly enough, for gold, which is often regarded as the safe haven in case of economic bad times, an argument could be made that economic good times in our global economy are good for gold, because that puts a lot more money in Mrs. Singh's and Mrs. Chan's pocket to go out and buy gold, which they do. Even if Americans wouldn't recognize gold if it was found on the sidewalk, they would know. So if there's economic turmoil, which is always possible, Putin and all these crazy things going on, or even China, the South China Sea conflict, that could send gold just screaming higher. Or if not, more money in the buyer's pockets can't be a bad thing.
Now, is this why you believe that gold hasn't fallen as much as some people may have expected against the U.S. dollar?
That's one reason. I also think just even in the West, the smart money, they have to know that the piper will be paid for all that has been done. It's just been off the charts crazy since 2008. You can kick the can down the road, but someday the piper has to be paid, and everybody knows that. Furthermore, the West isn't just the U.S. The Europeans certainly have been feeling it, and as we saw last year, gold was down in U.S. dollars, but it was up in every other currency. Mm-hmm. So you can't just look at it U.S.-centric. The world knows what's going on, and I think the obvious eventually must come to pass. Right.
And what are you seeing in the takeover space?
Well, this year started off pretty interesting, actually. It seems a little cooler now. Sell in May. Maybe we'll have a quiet season. I don't know. But actually, I would expect us to do more M&A this year than last year. Okay. Simply because we haven't had enough, and the bigger companies have to buy the little ones if they're not going to become little ones themselves. Right. They're not exploring. They've got to buy the ounces in the ground.
And what kind of key points do you look for in an ideal takeover target?
Well, size matters in this business, I have to say, but also that district potential. It's one thing to buy a mine, which has X mine life, but what you really want is a major size project that has a large land package, or that district potential. There are other showings here, there are other discoveries that aren't proved up as well. You see those things to come together with minimal political risk. The majors don't like political risk. And, that first size, that the 5 million ounce or equivalent is sort of the threshold these days.
Now, you've been telling people not to confuse price with value. Can you expand on that a little bit?
I'm so glad you remember. Yeah, the simplest example ever is in your own personal life. If you go to the store and the steak your husband loves is on sale for 50% off, you don't decide the steak isn't any good anymore. You buy more because it's on sale.
Right.
Or, if that Lexus you've been looking at goes on sale because the dealer had a bad year or a month and now they take $3,000 off the price, you don't say, oh, I don't want it. You say, oh, that's an opportunity. The same thing with our investments. And markets fluctuate. Investors can be irrational. They can be exuberant. They get carried away. There's momentum, and prices diverge from the value of assets. And that's an opportunity, long or short.
Right. Now, people have been calling the bottom here for a while. What are clear indicators for you that we're there?
Well, actually, the scraping along business
Right.
is fairly characteristic of a bottom. I was talking to Doug about that. He sees that very strongly from his past experience. And the other thing is that every time it tries to break down, like we were talking about earlier, this buying comes in. That's a pretty clear sign of a bottom. And, when does it really go up again is what people want to know. And
Right.
And nobody can really say that, but as we were talking about before the cameras turned on, the good news is that there are companies that are making money now, or that have feasibility studies that show, well-documented cases where the project can make money now. And so if you can buy these opportunities now while the market is down, then when the market does cycle up again, you know who the winners are going to be. And they're on sale. So this is a very good thing for buyers.
What do you think holds people back from taking advantage of these incredible valuations?
I think Rick Rule says it best. Investors make their decisions based on their immediately prior experience. They think they're rational. They think they're making a valuation. But the truth is, if they just got burned, that's what they remember. If the price went down, that's what they remember. Mm-hmm. The fact that because it's gone down, it's actually a better deal now than it was before, rarely enters into the calculation.
Right. Now, are you still, is Mexico still one of your favorite jurisdictions?
I like Mexico, despite the egregious tax increase.
I guess there were some security issues there as well.
There's always been security issues. Long stories there. But I remember as a boy, there were places you just didn't go. There are, and there always will be. But it's certainly much safer than a lot of South America. It's a place where you have rule of law now. And as I was saying, despite the tax increase, you have a mining code that works. It does encourage investment. You have to have a good margin project. But fortunately, the mineral endowment is phenomenal.
Right.
Mining isn't welcome anywhere. So there is no perfect place to go. Mexico's got its issues. All of the places have their issues. Newfoundland and Labrador can put a moratorium on uranium mining. Suddenly, what happens in Canada? Canada, what can we do? Right, so there is no place safe. Doug says you can run, but you can't hide.
Right.
It's always an issue of risk management, and Mexico is, I think, one of the better mining jurisdictions.
Great. Well, Louis, thank you so much for stopping by. We appreciate the update.
Thank you.